Another video from Saint Tontas, the best devs in gacha gaming. Guys, if you haven't checked this dude out, you should definitely check him out. He, makes some awesome content, in my opinion. It's good to see him growing. Dude needs more subs. Go show some love. The best devs in gacha gaming. Is he talking about Kuro? He's got to be talking about Kuro. Let's have a look.
Who would have known that with this thumbnail, Mr. Pokey created one of the greatest gacha memes in 2024. It's been used sarcastically.
Dude, I ain't seen this meme, you know. See, this is how I don't dabble enough in the community sometimes. How did I miss this? I think I saw that video as well, actually.
Especially when Kuro's made some minor blunders with their patches and fixes across the game's lifecycle.
That's one thing that I'll say, though, man. In my opinion, for the most part, they have been kind of minor. You know, I'm not saying they're not there, and I'm not saying this game's not got issues, and I'm not saying that we don't have a lot of things, in my opinion, that can be added to the game to improve the game. Not just from quality of life things and fixes and optimization, obviously, for people on mobile, and hopefully it's good on console. But just you know, gameplay elements as well that could make the whole thing a better experience altogether. But I think they've done a really good job. It's been a decent launch, and the one thing I'll say for them, it seems like they're willing, they're trying, and they want to make a better game for us as well, which is always a good thing to see from developers, isn't it?
But it's also been used for many of the positive changes the devs have made. Every
gacha game should release with something like this, in my opinion. If you're going to have a stamina system, have a stamina storage. It should be there. It just should be there right off the bat. Do it.
Motivated by the direct
doesn't need to be added
players.
Later. Just get it in the game straight away.
Wouldn't be a popular phrase if it wasn't true. And the Wuthering Waves developers do, in fact, listen. And the public reception to them.
Yo, Nutty, thank you very much for the $2 holla, bro. Appreciate ya. Appreciate ya.
Their listening has been so positive and industry warping that...
Hey, all I'll say is hopefully they listen and actually add in full-on dungeons and maybe even raids and give us some world bosses as well and some overworld stuff. I'd like that. Some overworld bosses, maybe some matchmaking stuff as well.
Other gacha developers, including the biggest one in the business, have been forced to start listening as well. It just took them a couple of years and a bit of pressure. It turns out that healthy competition is
Exactly. This is why I get it. People have their biases and the sunk cost fallacy and all that shit, and people are glazers and shillers. But if you love Genshin Impact, you want Wuthering Waves to be as good as possible. You want it to get to challenge Genshin. I was going to say Natlan then. To challenge Genshin and Hoyo as much as possible, because guess what? You're going to get a better game. That competition just breeds a better space for consumers. And it's like when it comes to consoles, you love to see I love to see anyway, grown-ass men arguing about consoles online. But the idea that people don't want competition for their favorite thing is just, dude, your thing is going to get better. It makes the other system do better things. We wouldn't have Game Pass if it wasn't for the PlayStation dominating the console market, you know? And that's good for me because I'll get Game Pass on PC as well. And we're going to get better gacha games because of games like Wuthering Waves and because of games like Azure Premiere coming and Neverness to Everness. It's going to make Hoyoverse step the game up, and everybody is going to step the game up. And this is a good thing for us as the gamers, as the players, as the consumer. We're going to get a better product.
A good thing, despite what some players might say. There's two reasons why Genshin Impact has seen more quality of life updates in the past 4 months than they've seen.
And let's not pretend, I know the Genshin and it's like, nah, bro, it's got nothing to do with Wolfenstein. No one cares about that dead game, bro. It sucks. Let's not pretend that it hasn't, you know? That for 4 years, none of these things happened, then all of a sudden, a really good competitor comes out. And then, they're dropping in these little things. They're trying to have quality of life updates. They're doing things that people have been asking for. You know, it's not a coincidence, is it really?
Seen in 4 years of service. Those reasons are called Wuthering Waves and Kuro games. A game developed with the harshest feedback of its predecessors in mind, and developers who are constantly keeping their finger on the community's pulse to find and fix whatever issues players are having. When Kuro hears a complaint, they fix it, and they don't just do the bare minimum. They go above and beyond.
This is true as well. And it's a transparency as well. I like the transparency from them.
Today
and he just seems like eager to
why
please.
this is the case.
An eagerness to please, should I say.
Have kept the player experience top of mind. From Wuthering Waves' development and baseline mechanics, all the way to the massive quality of life updates we've seen since launch. The number and content of these changes is absolutely astonishing. And most important,
dude, I hate seeing Jeji gameplay now because it's like, I failed my 50-50. I really want to get at, but I've got my guarantee, and Shorekeeper's coming in. It's just like, stop doing this to me. Just like, can't you just like, when you make your videos, guys, stop using her. Just like, use Jian and stuff, you know? And characters that I've got, or like Ling Yang, because I don't care about him. So, you know, stop using Jeji in your gameplay.
Actually useful and accessible for the player. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. From the ground up, Wuthering Waves was a game designed to limit player frustration. Kuro recognized that a huge portion of their potential player base were coming over from massive titles like Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail, and
to pretend otherwise would have been stupid.
The biggest critiques of those games to heart when designing the systems in Wuthering Waves. When it comes to basic mechanics of an open world like exploration, they streamline the experience significantly, implementing features like unlimited out-of-combat sprinting, vertical wall running, and something that isn't stated enough, near immediate access to all of the essential exploration gadgets.
Yep, and I will say the hover droid is awesome. Obviously, you can use it for the shooting little puzzles, but it is so good for mining. It just instantly destroys materials, and you could do, well, I think at least some of the materials. I don't know about all of them. I haven't used it on all of them, but you can instantly tap away materials that I know of from an incredible range. And it's just like, how is that not a win as well? That's like, you know, it's a great little quality of life thing to add to that as well.
Like the grappling hook, portable teleportation points, and my
on top of mining just being better in this game anyway.
Personal favorite, the loot mapper. By implementing these changes, Kuro simplified progression for players and removed unnecessary bloats from the overworld experience. Convenient travel mechanics aren't locked to a single region or section of the map.
And I believe all of this, in my opinion, is incredibly important in an open world game, and even more so in a gacha game. And the reason I say that, I've said it multiple times, but I'll just say it again because I like to repeat myself, is that with a gacha game, obviously, you've got certain systems for building your characters, for building your roster, for weapons, materials, your gear, whatever it might be. You know, there's daily stuff that you need to do. You need to go farm materials. You know, you need to build up stuff to build your players, to build your characters and such, which means going to specific areas on the map and traveling around to instances usually to get those materials, to do your farming, which obviously most of the time you spend using resonance beacons or teleporters or insert whatever name the game uses to get you around the map. And an open world that is not fun to traverse is incredibly frustrating the more you play the game, because as you're doing your daily stuff, you just want to get in, get your bits and pieces done, and then get to the end game content if you're doing that, or events, or whatever it might be. The open world sometimes can offer a distraction, almost like a negative element to the game, because if getting around that world becomes frustrating and tedious, it makes doing that daily stuff even more cumbersome, even more of a workload. And let's face it, I know you've got your fast travel points, but there's usually some point of travel between, say, your resonance beacon and the objective that you need to do, or the position you need to go. Obviously, you can fast travel to certain instances, or your dailies and such like that. So to have traversal be really smooth, efficient, and not a frustration really helps with the open world game as well. Now, I'm not saying I don't like open world games in gacha games, because I love the world in Wuthering Waves. I'm just saying that you need to make it as fluid and as accessible as possible, because they start to compound over time. And that's one of my biggest problems with Genshin Impact, is traversing the world fucking blows, and then add on your farming, it just becomes such an annoyance. And it's one of the big things that when I log into Genshin, I'm just like, ugh, it's annoying.
map, and it doesn't feel like you need to pull specific limited characters to have an interesting or enjoyable exploration experience.
Agree.
But Kuro still found ways to improve. Players complained about the clunkiness of certain overworld activities like the shooting challenges and destructible collectibles, citing how switching back and forth between pistol users and their regular teams to 100% the map wasn't a great experience. They acted on this feedback immediately, and in just its second version, Wuthering Waves released a shooter gadget that removed.
Yep, agreed. And like such a small thing, because for what you play in the game, it's such a small percentage of your playtime doing these initial shooter puzzles, wasn't it? It was a really small part of the game. Well, it was annoying that you're like, right, switch out a character, do it, switch back out of my character kind of thing, and then carry on with what I'm doing. But they just were quick on it, and it's a small quality of life addition that really didn't need much to do it, but it was done rapidly, and it makes a massive difference to the experience when you're actually doing those small things. And then when you layer those up with loads of other quality of life updates, it compounds and it becomes a bigger thing, doesn't it? It's a snowball effect that just makes the overall experience more enjoyable.
Remove this inconvenience completely. This wasn't something that they had to do. Hoyoverse had clearly demonstrated you could get away with ignoring complaints like these for years, but Kuro decided to respond in weeks. This wasn't something.
Which is smart, because again, I've always said you got to be first, you got to be better, and you got to be cheaper. Kuro didn't have the benefit of being first. It can't really be, well, it can be cheaper in the gacha system, but they're both free-to-play games. You know, entry is free. So they have to be better. They have to be faster. They have to pivot quicker. They have to reply to people quicker. They have to listen better. And they've showed that they're willing to do that. And obviously, that's making it better for Genshin players as well. So, you know,
had to do.
Thank
Everybody
us.
unlocked Shisha
Thank
for free
Kuro.
in the first 5 minutes of the game, but Kuro wanted to go above and beyond to cater to players. That's why people say the Wuthering Waves devs listened. It's because they do. However, this isn't the only area where the devs did far more than they needed to when implementing quality of life updates. Wave plates, or the daily energy system, was also designed with the player experience top of mind. With a 240 limit and a simple accumulation of 10 per hour, Wuwa's energy system was a lot easier to keep track of compared to Genshin's, and also had a much higher cap. While other games launched with a much lower cap on their energy.
One thing I will say, though, is, you know, doing stuff within the game still a little bit pricey. I'd like to see the cost of wave plates come down just a little bit. I would like to see that. You know, I've got to call out stuff when I think about it as well. And one thing I will say also, in regards to Kuro being incredibly generous, transparent, and reactive to the community, let's not pretend that if they were in Hoyo's version, there might not be such, well, so positive in that regards. You know, they understand that they're not the big dog. They're going up against the big dog, so they have to do that. Now, I'm not saying that for definite they wouldn't. I believe there's good people working there. I just do believe that, you know, they understand the position that they're in the market, and they're working to that. And I'm not taking anything away from them. Like, I'm not dogging on them by saying that. I'm just, you know, just putting it out there. Because I think sometimes we do get into a little bit of a glaze session, don't we? And forget that, like, you know, if the roles were reversed, maybe there wouldn't be so much like that. But hey, you never know, there might be.
Energy that was increased in later updates, with Honkai Star Rail taking over 4 months and Genshin Impact taking nearly 4 years, Kuro simply launched Wuthering Waves with the highest energy cap seen in the industry. That's a dev going above and beyond, and that's at the launch of the game. However, that wasn't enough either. Even with this massive energy cap, players wanted more, and Kuro gave it to them. With 1.2, Kuro added the wave
Again,
plate
though,
crystal system.
I think
as an
every
access
gacha game should launch with a storage system for your stamina. I just think it's something that should be there on launch. And yeah, I respect it, and I'm really appreciative that they've added it in. But I just think it's something that should be there for every gacha game off the bat, as just a little thing to respect your time. So when you're away from the game, you're not missing out on your daily stamina, you know? I don't think that's a hot take, is it really?
Energy system with a cap of 480, and perhaps most importantly, a rate of 1 every 12 minutes. When the baseline rate is 1 every 10 minutes, this is incredibly fast. Other games like
It's
HSR,
like 50%, isn't
theirs
it?
is 1 every 18 minutes.
I didn't know that.
That is 50%
I thought it was
slower.
I thought it was one every 12 on HSR.
Kuro had simply kept the same rate as one of their competitors. Instead, they again decided to go above and beyond when it came to their implementation of a highly requested...
See, like, for me, I don't necessarily see it like this in this regard. I'm not, again, I really like Wuthering Waves and I really like Kuro, but I don't necessarily see this as going above and beyond. I see this as understanding the competitors and what people want and reacting because they know the place in the market. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That's great for us as Wuthering Waves players. I just don't necessarily see it as going above and beyond. I see it as kind of doing their job right, really. You know, I think sometimes we expect so little that when a developer does it right, we're like, whoa, what's this, man? You know?
Requested system. Other companies, well, they take highly requested features like a custom artifact molder in Genshin and completely butcher its implementation. It is mind-blowing that Hoyoverse took almost 4 years to add this into the game, and when they do, it's time-gated by almost 1/3 or even more of the calendar year. Enjoy your one customized artifact every 4 to 6 months.
Wow. I didn't know that. Oh my god, dude. See, it's been so long since I played.
This
Holy
was another
shit.
area where Kuro...
See, I'm telling you, man. Genshin players get raw dogged sometimes and just go, thank you, thank you, thank you.
demonstrated an incredible amount of player receptiveness. Echoes were one of the most unique and creative takes on the gear grind in Gacha games, with the ability to infinitely farm overworld monsters and the streamlined methods of obtaining critical components of a character's
Still
build
needs some
with
tweaking,
its
in my opinion.
design of the 1, 3, and 4 cost system. Echoes were another big pain point for players, with a large disparity between the availability of echoes and the actual experience and tuners used to level them up. Kuro responded with a diplomatic...
I like the irony of that picture he's just showed there, though, as he's got plenty of tuners and not very much experience materials, which is kind of where we're at now, even more so. I have well over 1,000 materials all the time. I mean tuners, but I just never seem to have enough experience materials.
Solution to
although at the minute I've got quite a few.
Rather than increasing tacit field rewards and retroactively punishing players who didn't hoard their resources, they instead implemented these rewards across a massive number.
I think that's probably why maybe I'm a little bit salty about that, because I hoarded my solvents and I was hoping that they were kind of going to do what I thought they might do, so I was like, these are going to be really useful for me, and it didn't quite pan out the way I wanted it to be fair.
Of events and activities, equally rewarding all players. But still, people had issues with echoes, and now that people had progressed further into the game, grinding overworld mobs for drops had become a lot less appealing. So they just went ahead and started giving out a massive number of randomized echo drops across every avenue of content.
This is where, though, I still believe shinies should have a main stat option and a substat option. Let us pick a main stat and a substat on shinies, and then that'll you know, up another level.
Repeatable activities like the Elusive Realm, all the way to story events like the Moon Chasing Festival. Kuro takes...
Oh my god, Saint Tontas, if that's your footage, dude, love your content, you make awesome videos. What are you doing, bro? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? I think everybody knows what I'm talking about right here, yeah. What are you doing, dudes? You've made one vital mistake, the most important choice in the game, and you blew it on day one. Disappointed, bro. Disappointed.
Kuro takes feedback and implements it quickly. Oftentimes, all it takes is just one version. This level of response is something that Gacha players aren't used to.
They do.
But this is just the way that Kuro does things. By acting on these requests, Kuro in turn fosters a community that doesn't have that same level of toxic positivity other Gacha games are notorious.
You can argue that's true, but there's plenty of arguments to say against that as well. I believe there is plenty of toxic people within the Wuthering Waves community. It's just doesn't seem there's so much because Genshin is so big, you know, and there's so many glazers, so it seems like there's way more glazers. Now, there might be levels to it, but, you know, I don't think that's necessarily totally fair, but not untrue at the same time.
And that's a very good thing. These are only a few examples of how the devs listen, and how they've been listening for a very long time. There are even smaller updates I could have mentioned as well, but it's important to highlight where Kuro has demonstrated their care for the player base and their enjoyment of the game. Just imagine what the future updates will have. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. Peace out.
Alright, great video, man. Great video again. Dude just doesn't seem to miss. I really like his content. Fuck off, malware. Malware bites. Yeah, the best devs in gacha gaming. I can't say that for a fact. I haven't played every gacha game. I've played quite a few, but I haven't played every one, of course, because there are so many. But I would say there's an argument to say they're up there. They do listen. They act quickly. They're quite transparent. They seem to actually genuinely care about the game as well and what people think of the game. Of course, I think a lot of the time most developers do care about the game, but sometimes it seems that publishers don't. And I think it's safe to say that a lot of times they actually don't either. It's a job. It's a product they're putting out, and profit at the end of the day is the most important thing. Now, I'm not naive. Of course, profit is the most important thing for Kuro, and that's not a negative at all. They're running a business, but they actually seem to genuinely care about the product they're putting out and the perception that people take of it, don't they, as well? Which is nice to see. It's nice to see when creating something in the modern age, that the people creating it genuinely care about the thing they're creating. In a world nowadays where lots of our favourite IPs and genres of films and TV shows and games are getting butchered by people that don't care about it for their own reasoning and their own political viewpoints and activism, and insert whatever here, profit, everything, all of the things you can think of. It's nice that we do have some companies, and I'm not just speaking about Kuro, there's plenty out there. There are plenty out there. We just have so many bad ones that we forget there's plenty of good ones that actually care about what they're making. And, you know, this is why, in my opinion, I like to support Wuthering Waves, because I think Kuro are doing good things. And, hey, if Wuthering Waves is not for you, maybe if they do well, the next game might be. And I think at the end of the day, even if it's not, if this game continues to do well and they continue to do the things they're doing, your games are going to get better as well. I think that's a good thing for everybody at the end of the day. So having good actors in the space is good for everybody, because it might even make the not so good actors act better. And that's better for us at the end of the day, isn't it? Yeah, great video, guys. You should check him out. Say Tontas. Go drop him a sub. Go drop a like. Check out his content. He does awesome videos.